town hall, please come up to the microphone, state your name and your address to the record, and you have 5 minutes to speak.
Good evening. I'm Bernadette Koenig on North Gate Road. Last meeting you told me that you answered the Morris County Ag Board questionnaire and that it would be available. And you can tell me how to find that. And also, if I understand correctly, there's an ordinance concerning right to farm. And I hope that you'll review that and determine whether it needs to be updated, given that the State Ag Board and the County Ag Board are now including agro-tourism, including alcohol consumption as farming. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone via Zoom who would like to speak and open to the public? If so, please raise your hand on the bottom of the screen. Who is it? Lefty?
Good evening, Council. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you just state your name and your address for record?
My name is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm from sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 here in New Jersey advocating for disabled rights, cannabis patients' rights, disabled vets, the sick and the dying. We believe in putting the last first. Your ordinance singles out medical cannabis specifically. And what I have my questions are, this is terrible what you're doing. Disrupting the supply chain of medicine to our vets. That's a wartime move. That's something you do in wartime when you want to kill the other people. You disrupt the supply chain of troops, supplies, medicine. That's what you're doing. You're disrupting the supply chain of medicine to our vets, to people with cancer, people that are sick and dying. Who are you at war with? And why are you at war with your own people that are suffering, that are sick and dying, that need your help, and you're hurting them? 22 vets are killing themselves every day. There's a vet with a gun in his mouth right now, and your answer is what? Make him wait? Wait? Not in my town? What do you want to tell those vets that are going to blow their brains out right now? You wouldn't even have a council if it wasn't for disabled vets fighting for your right to be ignorant. Shame on you. I hear a lot of gum flapping about the vets. People flapping their gums about how much they care about vets. Yeah, prove it. Our vets are dying, and you're taking away their medicine. Even the Taliban has to give our troops medicine under the Geneva Convention. You're not even doing as good as the Taliban with our troops. Are you kidding me? Shame on you. The Taliban's laughing at you. They have to give our troops medicine. Oh, make them wait, though. The gun's in their mouth, but make them wait. That's okay. Why don't you spend a day in a wheelchair? Spend a day in a wheelchair and then think about where you're going to get your medical cannabis. Where are you going to go? Oh, you're going to get it delivered? Ha! Yeah, right, delivery. We're waiting for delivery for years. Jake's Law was passed years ago. Where's our delivery? Because the dispensaries can't make money. That's why. It's all about the money. It's all about these international corporations coming into our country, into our state, and making money off the sick and the dying. Building an industry off the backs of the sick, the disabled, and the dying. Where are the Christians on this council that want to put the last first? Where are you? People in wheelchairs are last. We need your help. We're getting hit from all sides. We're getting taxed. Is your medicine taxed? Is your insulin taxed? Is your heart medication taxed? Is your anxiety medication taxed? No. Our medical cannabis is taxed. It's not covered by insurance. The towns that are taking it are even taxing us more. And they're not even giving us wheelchair access. The towns that are taxing us don't even have wheelchair access. We want representation for the taxation. We're sick of being kicked around. We're disabled. We're not stupid. We see what's going on here. And we're sick of it. People are suffering. We need your help. But no, you want to make disabled vets with guns in their mouths wait. What are we waiting for? And who are we at war with? You singled out medical cannabis in your ordinance. You singled it out like we don't want it in our town. We don't need it. Well, No problem with alcohol or fentanyl, though, right? That's all good. That's family friendly. Medical cannabis, God's medicine, is stigmatized. Man-made garbage that they sell in the pharmacies that police have to run around with Narcan, waking everybody up because of it, that's family friendly, but God's medicine is stigmatized. Shame on you.
Sir, you're borderline out of order.
it's okay.
Your voice.
It's okay, it's okay. Let him continue. You have.
Why am I
50
yelling? Because you're not listening. Because you're not listening. That's why. And I'm fighting for people that are dead because of your ignorance, and people that are ignorant like you, councils all over the state, ignorant like you, people are dying and suffering because of ignorant councils like you. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in town hall who would like to speak and open to the public? Okay. Is there anyone else via Zoom who would like to speak? Please raise your hand.
Kim Park.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Do I need to state my full name and address for the record?
Yes, please.
Sure. Kimberly Hart, 17 Northgate Road. I just wanted to go on record to say that I spoke with Ms. Beth Foley, the secretary for the planning board, on Friday. I called to request the recording of the planning board hearing that occurred on July 1st, which was, I think, entirely devoted to the Backer Farm Brewery application. And when I spoke to Ms. Foley on Friday afternoon, I learned that the entire recording was, as she said, corrupted. And I understand that the entire hearing may have to be redone.
Whole town's corrupted.
It's very disturbing as a resident that 4 hours of sworn testimony was lost. Not only the testimony itself, but the many good questions that several concerned residents and members of the public raised. And during that testimony, we learned that the brewery application is much larger than it appears on paper. Through the testimony, we heard that the licensed area of the brewery will be not only the 2-story brewery itself, but an outdoor deck and an outdoor area that wasn't really defined on the farm grounds. Music, live music, as well as recorded music, will be permitted in the licensed area. TVs are planned to be installed to attract patrons to the 78-seat brewery, and that bring your own chairs as well as food will be permitted and encouraged, which means the potential for a couple of hundred people to be on the grounds at any given time. So I hope that the township looks into this to see if any part of the recording can be salvaged and testimony is not lost. And if it is, that it also looks into it to ensure that it doesn't happen going forward. And my second point that I would just like to make is, while I have great respect for all of you and the time and the commitment it takes to serve our town, I'm also disturbed that it appears that the township has known about this brewery application for over a year now. When I searched the minutes, and admittedly, I think it was on the last committee meeting that I attended, many minutes are not yet posted, but one of the minutes I found where the application came up was Board of Health minutes from August 24th, 2020. And in the report, it summarizes the July 2020 meeting. And in that it says, Backer Farm is hoping to put a brewery on site and is looking into local health and state approvals regarding their septic system and retail food licensing. Mr. West, who I believe is a committee member of the Public Health Board, states that the local code could be a problem and that it's uncertain as to whether a farm can have a commercial operation. There's another paragraph that ends with, this may require an appearance before the Board of Adjustment. So again, I'm concerned that the township has been aware of this for over a year and has not, to my knowledge, taken any action to enact commercial ordinances that might regulate such a proposed operation like a brewery. I believe on the docket for tonight is a second reading for the cannabis ordinance, which we just heard about from the previous speaker. And while that state law came into effect earlier this year, the township has acted, within just a few months to get an ordinance together. And yet with knowledge of this brewery for over a year, there did not seem to be any ordinances for the public to look at. So thank you, and I appreciate the time to speak tonight.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in town hall who would like to speak in open to the public? Is there anyone else via Zoom who would like to speak? Jamie? Hi, Jamie. Jamie, could you state your name and your address to the record? Okay, is there anyone else? Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I guess it took a few seconds to add me as panelist. My name is Jamie Van Skyver, Greenwich Avenue in Paulsboro, New Jersey. I also am a board member of Sativa Cross nonprofit. I also am a medical cannabis patient in the state of New Jersey. I'm really discouraged for the medical patients in your community, the people that are suffering and dying from chronic illness and chronic pain. These means conditions that are not going away, that they're probably going to live with them for the rest of their lives. And all of that you're giving them access to in your community are narcotics and controlled substances to manage pain, and they're overdosing on it, and your Narcan counts going up, your EMS, your squad. That's horrific. As Mr. Grimes stated, 22 veterans a day are killing themselves. They have PTSD. They have combat-related PTSD. They have anxiety and they have depression. And you know what they can get in your community? SSRIs. And you know what they do? Makes you want to kill yourself more. If there's a veteran in your community that commits suicide, I will be the first to let you know. Your Narcan count's going up. That's not because of cannabis. Who are you stigmatizing this substance? 64.2% of your community voted for adult use recreational legalization. And here you are stigmatizing medication for chronic ill and terminally dying patients. What are you doing? When someone is chronic ill and chronic pain, they're not going away, these symptoms. You're giving them access to pharmaceuticals. We all understand that you build tolerance to these substances, and in turn, we prescribe and take more. What route are you sending the sick and dying people of your community down? What is the danger of a plant? An MS patient getting help from a plant, a cancer patient getting help from a plant, an immune sick person like myself with systemic lupus getting help from a plant. Do you want me sitting getting infusions, shutting down my immune system during a pandemic? No, it's more dangerous that I treat myself with a plant. What are you doing? People are dying. There's blood all over your hands. This is legal. The people in your community want it. You're not listening to them. And then you went the extra length to stigmatize medication that's saving people's lives. That's they're not taking opioids and controlled substances for.
Yeah.
Will you at least support residents, like your people having home grow, since you're not giving them access to anything in their community besides alcohol and controlled substances like opioids? Will you support your residents' right to home grow? Or do they get no access to anything? Are you working for pharmaceutical companies? Are you getting money from them to keep out
There it
this
is.
natural plant?
There it is.
Oh.
You're stigmatizing the sick and dying people. A medical substance that's scientifically proven.
Because she's wrong.
No, it's okay. It's open forum at this point. Anybody from the public, we can talk about, we can talk, we can go, we're not gonna go back and forth.
We're
You
not
can
going
res-
back and forth.
It's okay, please, we could respond after it's closed to the public.
Wow.
Please continue.
Not sure why.
Just please continue. Thank you, ma'am.
Please stop stigmatizing this natural medicine. Please have empathy with the sick and dying people in your community. They have chronic illness, they have chronic pain. This can be an answer for them. They're not going to overdose on it. Please at least keep your mind open to medical. I do not understand. The majority of your community wants recreational. That means they want it there. They want access to it. I can't imagine that the vote would be any different, if not almost 100%, that your residents think people should have access to their medication. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak and open to the public? Is there anyone via Zoom who would like to speak and open to the public? Is there a motion to close the public?
Motion.
Is there a second? Okay, so we're close to the public. I'm going,
Hold on a second.
yep, wait a second. I want to address first, there's a couple of questions asked about the ag board. So, and those were actually voiced from residents in our community, so I want to address them first. So, we did respond to questions from the county on, specifically ag, I'm not sure if it was from the ag board, but it was about agricultural and preserving land in the community. Our township administrator sent it out. I know Ms. Coppinger and I have been working on it. We're getting it a confirmation from Bob that was the final one before we post it, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so we have not gotten the confirmation, and we thought we would, and we have not. So as soon as we get that, we will post it. And if you send me an email, I can forward you it also. It's not, we're not keeping it from anybody. It's gonna be fully open, accessible to the public. I'm not sure exactly the ordinance that you were referencing, so that's something that you can bring up to me afterwards. If that's a state or a county one, but that's just something I would like to look at because it's nothing that's happening at the township level. But that's something that you can bring to me, or after the next open to the public you want to bring up, we can look into it. Deputy Mayor, you want to make your point?
Yeah, so listen, the bottom line with the two callers that we had, calling us having blood on our hands and so forth. In our ordinance, under definitions, 21-2.4, cannabis business is prohibited. A, definitions, cannabis, skipping to the part, cannabis does not include medical cannabis dispensed to registered qualifying patients pursuant to the J. Koenig Compassionate Use Medical Cannabis Act. And then it gives all the citations. None of what they were talking about has anything to do with what we're doing tonight. Not a single bit. I really do not like the idea that the people can just go off and say whatever they want without being challenged to actually prove what they're talking about. It's not appropriate.
So, yeah, give me a response. We're not the arbiter of allowing people to say things or not. We're able to respond because we are the ones up in the dais, but at the end of the day, as somebody who's managing this meeting, and open to the public, I'm going to allow the public to speak and say what they want to say. It's freedom of speech, unless they're inciting something that I believe is dangerous or incredibly inappropriate. And when it comes down to it, I don't think that those two individuals, what they were saying, I don't believe that they were accurate, or I don't believe it was the truth of what we're actually doing tonight. But I don't think that they were inciting a riot or anyone's physical or personal danger, selves were in danger. So that's why I allow them to go on. I appreciate you clarifying that for the public. We're going to be talking about it later, but also I just want to mention something. We're not making it illegal for folks to take cannabis for medical reasons or to even utilize it recreationally. It's about this selected uses and what we're going to be allowing in the township. So, Committeewoman Duarte.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add as well that, sometimes folks have strong
It
opinions.
says
and-
right here, the prohibition
and,
shall be read and construed to
yeah,
apply
they
equally to
have to
any
let
and
them say
all
what they
medical
wanna
cannabis
say.
organizations.
So that's okay. I do just want to, because I'm chair of the Stigma-Free Task Force, I hope that our action tonight, and we're going to talk about this later.
Lies.
but, I really hope our action tonight doesn't in any way have somebody feeling that we are trying to stigmatize medical use of marijuana or adult use of cannabis. It is legal. Our residents did vote in favor of it. What we're addressing this evening, we don't have a retail section in our community. So really the only applicable license would have been the cultivation. And personally, and we'll talk about this more later, I didn't feel comfortable because the state hasn't come out with the guidelines yet. They're still working on that. And so it's sort of putting the old cart before the horse. We don't really know how the marketplace is going to work. So it doesn't feel appropriate to even consider it, in my opinion. And that's why, a vast majority of towns are not allowing it. I know folks who have medical marijuana cards for various chronic illnesses and pain, and it is very effective. So I have a lot of empathy for anyone who needs it and takes it. And again, I hope that our action tonight doesn't in any way add to any stigma that someone might feel around use of cannabis as adults. So thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. So next we're at approval of minutes, regular meeting minutes of January 25th, 2021. I'm going to ask folks to table that if there are any issues.
My neighbor's yard. I need all of our residents to have a clear understanding. What we are talking about is distribution and growth. We are not talking about consumption. If a person wants to consume on their deck in their backyard, we can't regulate that. The state has decriminalized marijuana and it is decriminalized. So please don't call our police department because your neighbors are smoking on their back deck.
Right. There's one other point, and again, wanted to, we understand some of the issues and the topics over the last couple of months as we've had the conversation with members of the public. I want to be very clear on one topic. Some folks have asked a question about the decriminalization of marijuana. That has already occurred at the state level. Our decision to press pause this evening has no bearing on the decriminalization which has already taken place, which I know I can speak for my colleagues, we wholeheartedly endorse. We are strictly talking about the technical aspect of distribution, agriculture, etc., directly in the township. I think we have a good timeline, and I think we have a good plan in place to marshal the resources. So, having said all that with the background, in case some of you were not able to join us for the last meeting or two, at this time I would like to open up the formal hearing on ordinance 2021-13 and ask if there's anyone in the public who wishes to speak for or against the ordinance. And if so, yes, sir, if we could ask you to come up to the microphone, and we just need to ask you for your name and address for the record. Yep, if we could. Just in case you didn't have 100 sanitary wipes on you, we have them up there for you.
Thank you, Mr. President, Madam Mayor, council members. My name is Ray Trochi. I live at 420, and that's not a joke, Old Orchard Road, for those of you who know 420. I also want to go on the record saying I'm not an avid user of marijuana, but I did want to go on the record opposing this ordinance. I understand your need to press pause. But at the same time, when I look at the voter turnout in November, it was almost 3-1 in favor. So do you speak for the constituents when you press pause on this? And how realistic is at the end of this timeline that you're not going to continue the ban? At the same time, we talked about tax revenue. When Evesham has approved, Mount Laurel has approved, there's already a Cure Leaf in Edgewater Park. They're not only do they approve, but they'll flip that switch and it goes legal. Belmar already has a Cure Leaf and they've approved it. they'll flip that switch and go legal. That's potential tax dollars that we'll be losing in that regard. We talk about the health and welfare and safety of our township. I don't view cannabis dispensaries any different than the 100 or so liquor stores that populate our township. The governor signed in February full legalization. In terms of the zoning and all of the other mechanics that go into this, we could have been looking at all of that now, regardless of what the state regulations are going to be. And we already know that 2% of the tax revenue comes into Cherry Hill's pocket. So that's not really a question. You know you're going to get the money. You can always make the decision where it's going to get earmarked after the fact. But having said that, I know I'm a day late and a dollar short. When I step away, the motion's going to be carried. But I will hold you to 6 months, and I will be back several times. Again, thank you for your time and your patience. I appreciate it.
Thank you for articulating your position. The members of the public who wish to speak for or against? If we could ask you for your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Elon Miller. I live at 1901 Park Lane. Thank you, President Mayor, members of the board. I want to speak against the motion as well. I agree with pretty much everything that was just said. I think that while I'm happy to hear the timeline and the hard date, I'm concerned that we could be really missing out on a lot of revenue here. I think there are only a certain amount of licenses that the state's giving out, and if these, I think it would be a mistake not to immediately allow the cannabis businesses to operate in Cherry Hill. If you know, we're really in a unique position here with our proximity to Philadelphia and our business community. I think up north, they were expecting a windfall of cash coming in from New York, and New York almost immediately legalized, probably because they want to keep that money from. So I think it would be, you know, I really don't think that we have anything to fear from this. There's always apocalyptic predictions whenever there's, you know, cannabis is legalized or there's a cannabis market. And really what happens almost always is there's increased revenue for the community. There's property values increase. I think it has an overall net benefit. And I don't want to see us lose out on that revenue.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing? Jamal Rosario, 233 Happy Drive.
Thank you.
You folks look way much better in person.
Then you got to get out more. I speak for myself only.
You guys are great. You look healthy. It's wonderful. The Zoom is cool because it does allow more folks to participate that can't come in person, so that's awesome. Also, Madam Mayor, nobody's mad that the tax bills are late. You can wait till like February. Oh, good. We're not mad at you. No, but thank you all. Good evening, and thank you for having us and opening this up for discussion. Again, I commended you a couple weeks ago when I was talking through Zoom. Your leadership, your courage to make the decision you're making now. Though some may want to take shots at you and criticize you, it's good leadership. So God bless you, and praying for your strength to get through this ordinance and to keep pushing forward. I kind of broke my words down. I just have 2 quick pages I'll read to you. I just broke my what I want to say in 3 themes. 1 being misconceptions, 2 quality of life, and 3 future ordinances that protect the township, not just the people of the township, but also your employees, your public servants that work for the township. And I'll talk on that in a second. But just a couple misconceptions. You kind of heard it up here already today about tax revenue. We're missing out. Cherry Hill's missing out on this tax revenue. I mean, it's a misconception. And anybody that can sit here and predict to you what type of tax revenue you're going to generate with a product that hasn't touched the market, that's already seeing regulation coming its way, is lying to you. And the regulations haven't even been posted. there's already a push. If you read an article on centraljersey.com, there's an article titled "Marijuana Votes Like Candy." There's already a push by New Jersey's Poison Control and another advocate group to regulate how marijuana is packaged. Not just medical marijuana, but recreational marijuana. How it's going to be packaged, the color, the writing on it. That's going to cost. That's going to cost the market. That's going to get funneled down to your buyers. Right now, you're looking at less buying in the legal avenue. You're looking at more street revenue purchases. These are things, you know, I don't want to get too much into it here at this setting. I'm hoping you open it up to a town hall. We can discuss those things there. I can even send you more emails, but those are topics that you have to, if we're going to talk about economics, you're going to have to dissect that. If you're talking about, you want it here to bring in tax revenue, I hope you're willing to dissect it in those levels. It's not just as, oh, Cherry Hill's going to get 2%. You show me where that 2% is coming from. Show me hard evidence. It's not going to be 2%. I don't even think it's going to be 1%. This town has done an amazing job. Folks sitting where you are right now, before you and you yourselves, for 9 years now running, you're going to have a tax surplus. How many townships in New Jersey can claim that? That's because of you. That's because of you. Your good leadership, good decision on how you want to spend money, how we're not going to spend money. The great businesses that are here already, your hardworking tax-paying homeowners, you have an awesome tax base. You don't need marijuana tax dollars. Let's not kid ourselves. And no one here watching on Zoom or here in person should even consider that. You don't need marijuana tax dollars. You're already seeing talk and chatter on social media platforms. The people that are going to be sitting here trying to defend their positions to argue with you against your ban are already contradicting themselves on social media. I'll read you some of their quotes. I won't weep if Cherry Hill votes no. A small win for the moral few, but there are enough townships around us that will benefit from our business. I don't see any problem getting product as we move forward since enough townships around us are approving sales. You already have, you can read it for yourself. I'll email you the quotes. I ask you to consider those statements by those sources, people that are going to be attacking you for your decision. Those quotes, they speak for themselves, right? Quality of life. I'm sitting at mid-April, I'm sitting at 70 in Springdale, taking my daughter to a softball game. It's about 8:30 in the morning. Windows rolled down. It's a nice cool morning. When we saw the traffic light, burning marijuana. The car next to me, young man, windows rolled down. He's smoking a blunt while he's next to me at the traffic light. So, you know, that's one aspect of it, right? He's transient. He's moving along through the township roads. It is what it is. It's legal, but we can do something about that, right? We're going to see some of those things become more prevalent. People smoking in Cherry Hill Mall parking lot, restaurant parking lots, Wawa parking lots, maybe the library parking lots, township playgrounds and parks, right? Quality of life is a big issue. So many people adore Cherry Hill Township for what it is. It's a beautiful township. I love people like that.
I hate to cut you off, but we just, if I could tribute us to summarize real quick.
That's it. Three ordinances I wish that you consider is an ordinance on underage consumption, marijuana deliveries, prohibiting that as well, and the ordinance protecting public employees, firefighters who are here, police, EMTs. They're going to be responding to more and more instances of marijuana use, and there's going to be an increase in psychosis episodes. We're seeing it now in our ERs. There's data available. You can research for that. But thank you so much for having us, and I wish you the best. It's a tough decision, but God bless you guys. I hope it's more than a temporary ban.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming out. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to make comment? Yes, sir.
Just real quick.
Sure. Again, get your name and address for the record.
Brian Lipcoat, 28 Cambridge in the Kingston Estate section.
Thank you.
Your 6-month plan sounds like it's a good plan. I encourage you to move forward with it. All right. Came out with my son tonight. He's a Boy Scout over at 70 Chrysler Light, working on his citizenship and community merit badge. So we figured we'd come out and check out some of these topics so we can talk about it with his merit badge counselor. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Glad you did, and sorry we didn't know sooner. We would have had you lead us in the pledge. Come back again, you get the next one, okay?
Sorry he's not wearing his uniform.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to make a comment?
Yes.
And then you're up, and then we'll go to Zoom.
So I comment that we're opponents before, so bear with me.
No worries, take your time, just need your name and address.
My name is Mark Tamburino, 230 Hadley.
Thank
I
you.
actually live across the street from Mr. Jamel. I honestly wanted nothing to do with this rhetoric. I really didn't want to be a part of it. Today, as I was driving into work, I just didn't want to come. And I seen a post on social media that shared to me from not him, someone else. That was exactly what this town doesn't need at this point in the time coming out of COVID. Even sitting here, I heard a couple of comments and laughing up here. Nothing should be laughed about. This is actually rather a serious decision. I'm a smoker, period. I'll be honest. I smoke cigarettes. When I smoke a cigarette, if I light up a cigarette, people look at me funny. That's how it is. Smokers, you're not allowed to do it. You're not expected to do it. You know, it's no different than alcohol or marijuana. So I just want to go through my thoughts, and I don't mind. Again, I don't know any of these people other than my neighbor. I mean, I hear shit chatter, but I don't get involved. I will be honest with you. I voted during COVID, as I was pretty much one of two employees of normally way more working in a non-essential person. I've been told that the last year I never stopped working, making way less money. I voted quickly on November 4th, or whenever we did, to vote yes for marijuana sales. And I did that because my mother just recently suffered a stroke and she needed something I'm going to get for her. My brother in June, beginning of June, was diagnosed, was younger than me, was diagnosed with lung cancer. Well, my best friend on the same exact day. I lost one so far. And the third one was my other brother, who's all people from Cherry Hill, has multiple sclerosis, and he can't walk. I'm going to be able to supply. My biggest thing is I'll drive and go get it. I don't mind getting in my car and driving somewhere to go get it. To go get anything. That's if you need something. And you can call me, I'll go get it for you. It's out of state. Bring it in for you, regardless what it is. I want to bring up going in the different direction. I want to bring up, if I go long, cut me off. I'll go as fast as I can. Just
Another minute.
The Costco was brought to Cherry Hill, correct? Was there any, is there a traffic study, if you will? Was there a traffic study on that left-hand turn in?
There's a traffic study on any site plan that gets approved.
Has there been an increase in accidents at the telephone pole? And I'd like maybe to research this now. The telephone pole underneath the train track. I work close to that, so I ask, I watch it. I get out of my desk. When I hear that car accident, I get out of my desk and I pull people in cars. I don't need it to make the news. I don't need it to do anything. I stop traffic. The gentleman who died, that cancer that I told you about, he stopped traffic with me. Okay. There's an empty store next to me. There's an empty building next to me. If that building becomes a dispensary, okay, they can walk into my complex. I can't tell, nor can I stop. I'm going to bad Google review on top of it. I stop someone. Okay, but that's the reality of real life we live in. I can't stop them from walking in, getting in a $70,000 car and driving. Okay, they drive a vehicle. The car gets into an accident. And this is not my company. This is the company I've represented for 17 years here in Cherry Hill. They get into a car accident. I'm responsible, meaning my company, not meaning me, is responsible. Our insurance, now we have to pay a deductible, and I'm out of car. Now I'm out of car. We're in an industry right now that we don't have cars. So we're not going to have for a long time. So now we're minus another vehicle, and we're out the insurance on the vehicle as well, paying for it, and probably a lawsuit that could happen in any way possible. And I'm going to try to go fast because I'm really not even looking at my notes. I'm just waiting to do it. This township, and I know this for a fact because I did it. I spent $8,000 my own month upgrading my house this year. And I did it not because I sat at home all day, because I didn't get that opportunity. I got it and went to work every day. Okay. People, my neighborhoods, everywhere I've driven, construction, everything is up. People are putting money into their houses. Okay. And values of houses are high. But people were sinking money into their house because they were tired of sitting around the house. This is my opinion. They were tired of sitting around the house and looking at the carpet like this and saying, this should be replaced. You know, this should be upgraded. So people spent tens of thousands of dollars sinking money into their house. I go home, I cut my own lawn. I made it, oh, that's a lie. I made it from dirt and weeds, no pun intended, to actual grass. I did it myself. I did it to help the value of my neighbor's house and the value of my house. If you put a dispensary in here, the Cherry Hill, okay, you don't need the money. You want to tax something to get money, do tax the things that are unhealthy. Tax soda, tax candy, tax, I smoked cigarettes as I started. Tax my cigarettes 20% more. I'll pay if I want to pay. And guess what? If you take another Cherry Hill, I'll go drive by if I want. Don't bring the township down. We're as close to Ocean City as being value as you possibly can. If you want to take, I drink beer. I drink Miller Lite. I drink the beer that you'll come to my house and be like, that guy's giving me a Miller Lite. Yes, I'm giving you a Miller Lite. And you should like it because it's cold. And it's refreshing on a hot day. So my thoughts are that we've done business many of times. You don't know my face. You don't know who I am. You have my address, you have my name there. You've done business with my company. You've all made decisions that get me to pay the taxes you've required me to pay. You've agreed on things from my company to have success with and build, if you will, zoning, whatever it is. It's not my job. My job is to sell. My job, I don't sell. I just figure out numbers at this point. But I want you to think about that. I'm literally going to go home tonight and water my lawn because I cut my grass yesterday when I didn't want it. I'm going to water my lawn tonight. So my neighbor who's getting their house right across the street, giant seal on the street, drive by it, 230 Hadley Drive, say again. When she's sinking more money in her house, I want my house to look nice so it doesn't devalue her. So don't devalue our businesses. Because I have to work there. 25 years left on a mortgage payment. And I lost a year of that due to COVID. So it put me $35,000 behind. My family lived here 42 years. My father brought it from South Philly, Southwest Philadelphia. He had nothing, not a drop. But think about that. So 6 months from now, and I'll tell you, and I'll leave this at this. I'm definitely off topic, and I'm sorry. My father, I hear this 6-month plan. There is no 6-month plan in business. Business doesn't take 6 months. If you're a business person, you don't think 6 months out. You think 5 years. How can I survive for 5 years? Because the majority of businesses don't make it that far. My father and the business people that I know, they wouldn't talk to anyone unless you were in business for 5 years. Because otherwise, like my own business that started up in 2018, I took from the ground up. I went after it with a Philadelphia Soul member. Just by chance, I wasn't working church.
So I'm gonna have to ask you to wrap up. I'm sorry.
I'll wrap up that I lost my company during COVID. And no, I'm sorry. It was $7,000 I lost. No reason to be sorry. You know why? Because I'm glad I tried. I went for my 5 years. Think about when you make your decision, do 5 years.
Thank
What
you.
does it matter?
Thank you for coming up.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. There are other members of the public here tonight. Yes, that's right. I promise you were next. Hello.
My name is Gabriela Rosario. I live at 273 Hadley Drive in Montalvo.
Thank you.
I'm the daughter of Jamel Rosario and Nina Rosario, and I'm proud of it. I'm only 14 years old, and if I can realize that passing a law to legalize marijuana dispensaries is utterly disappointing, how come the few select adults can't realize that too? It saddens me deeply that some would even think to look at this topic again. This should easily be common sense to everyone that when marijuana gets introduced to the lives around us, it never ends well. I fear for not only my future, my fellow peers' future, but also the next generations to come. Our children should not have to worry about smelling marijuana everywhere we go and having the possibility of being tempted with it. We shouldn't have to worry about smelling marijuana at the mall, park, grocery stores, schools, or even in their own neighborhoods. It's disgraceful to think that people even sell it today. It is important that we shield and protect them from the horrors of the gateway drug so that they too can have a successful, healthy future. From a young age, before I even stepped foot into a school, I have been taught that darts are something to not be tempered with. That there's something to say no to, because once you start, you may never stop. I'm sure everyone here can agree with me. So, if we all have been taught these valuable lessons in life, why would we teach kids these same lessons, but then leave them alone and unprotected to substances? If you say yes to the dispensaries, then families will be destroyed. The families are not the only thing to consider here. We must also consider our first responders too, who deal with the aftermath of drug use. Even if you, the council, say no to the dispensaries, I urge you to create an ordinance to protect the first responders. If I have not been able to convince you yet, then think of your children or your grandchildren. Would you want them to be able to go to the store legally and pick up some marijuana? I would not have come here tonight if this wasn't truly important to me. I'm doing everything in my power to ask you, please, not to say yes, ever, to marijuana here. Please do the right thing. Please say no to marijuana dispensaries.
Thank you. I know you said you're proud of your parents. I know they're proud of you, so thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to make a comment? Michelle, do we have anyone on Zoom?
Yes, our first speaker is Sarah Joslin.
Hello, if we could have you state your name and address for the record, please. Michelle, how are we doing there?
Sarah is unmuted if you'd like to talk, Sarah.
Okay, why don't we put Sarah on hold and go on to, we have another comment?
Sure, Sarah, just raise your hand again. Next speaker is Jeff King.
Hello, Jeff, are you there?
Can you hear me?
There you go, Jeff. If we could trouble you for your name and address for the record, please.
Sure thing. Jeffrey King, 24 Elizabeth Parkway, Eatontown. Good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the public. Thank you very much for allowing me to attend the meeting and to be heard on this ordinance. I am I'm not sure where to begin. I would like you to table the ordinance. I don't think that this decision that you're coming to is good for the community. I heard a lot of disturbing reefer madness type rhetoric, and it was really offensive, some of it. I really vehemently disagree with some of the assertions, but I'll just, excuse me? So I heard some skepticism about the tax that might be collected, and if you don't like that tax revenue, then...
Hello, this is Sarah Johnson.
Hey, Sarah, if you could just hold on for one moment.
I'm trying to unmute here.
Right, if we could ask you to hold on for...
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
This is Sarah Jocelyn. I'm am I being heard
Sarah.
now?
Sarah, we're
I've been
gonna
trying
have-
to
Sarah.
testify.
Sarah, we have another gentleman.
Hello?
Michelle, could you mute and then go back to Sarah when we're ready for her, please?
She is muted.
Hello? Are you able to hear me?
Whoa, what happened there?
Jeffrey, you still there?
Yes, I am, Mayor. Is it all right if I speak?
Yeah, please do. Sorry for the interruption.
No, I understand. And actually, I really appreciate that you're doing the hybrid meetings. It's important. My friend was a medical cannabis patient, and he literally testified from his deathbed. He's passed away now, but he was able to participate in the meetings because of Zoom during the pandemic. And now you're allowing that condition to continue, and I respect that very, very much. Also, my friend has a childcare issue. So I appreciate the hybrid, and it's not always perfect, but thank you for that. As far as the ordinance, I'm sorry, I got off topic, but yeah, I can tell you that Patterson is collecting $25,000 a month from their existing medical dispensary. So that is a hard number. That's not a lie or some kind of fiction as was asserted. You can find these numbers. It's not that we're the first state. It's not that we're the first community. The children, when we talk about what about the children, that kind of rhetoric, gateway to horror and psychosis. I have family in Colorado, and Colorado has been a punching bag for people that are reefer madness prohibitionists, and it's just not true. It's not the case. It's not the fact. So if you haven't been to the area where they have it, and you say you think this is going to happen, that's just what you think. But people have been to these areas and they know the truth. They know what's actually happening. It's fine. It's just as good as the revenue that you're making from flying fish, which I like. I like coming to Flying Fish. It's fun. And then I spend money elsewhere in the community. The other businesses, there was a concern about how is this going to reflect on other businesses? Well, it'll probably draw foot traffic in. I think that's what's happening out west. I think you're smart to want to do your homework, but take advice from the incoming chief, not the outgoing one. I know you love him, you know him, but he's not going to be the one dealing with it. So it's important to have law enforcement on board, but his opinion, he should have already given you that opinion. That you shouldn't have to beg for him to give it to you by the last day that he's in office. I would think you were the most progressive, wise governing body if I heard all of this in December. After the election, this could have all been set up. As one of the previous speakers said, this is so long overdue. It's kicking the can down the road. So I'm sorry that that's what happened, but I hear you have opponents. So I see that you're just trying to make everyone as happy as possible. But you're saying, oh, well, we need to let people get used to this and adapt to it. What about the people that have been persecuted and stigmatized? I was arrested and put in handcuffs for nothing more than, oh, I smelled marijuana. Well, that's not right. What about us? Why do we have to wait longer while other people get used to it? The election happened. It was supported. I don't even know why you're talking about decriminalization. How is it that people don't understand that we're not being arrested for this anymore? We're not criminals anymore. That's ridiculous that that even has to be discussed at this point. I'm sorry that that's the case in your community. I feel for you. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Michelle, who's next, please?
Next up, we have Rena Margulies.
Hello,
Council
Rena.
President Fleischer, can you hear me?
I can, Rena. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much. Rena Margulies, 28 School Lane. I had an introductory comment. I wanted to alert you that there are very severe sound quality issues from the microphone at the guest speaker's podium. So it becomes extremely difficult to hear what's being said. I hope that can be addressed for future meetings. The first thing that I wanted to bring up was your remark, Council President, during the caucus meeting about delivery services. Now, we had heard from Council Member Carter that delivery would be allowed, and I actually went and looked at the ordinance. And the first be it ordained clause is really unclear on this point. So it says all cannabis establishments, cannabis distributors, or cannabis delivery services are hereby prohibited from operating anywhere in the township of Cherry Hill, except for the delivery of cannabis items and related supplies by a delivery service. So I would like some clarification, because it sounds to me like you're saying cannabis delivery services are prohibited, except for delivery of cannabis items. So I would like to hear an answer on whether cannabis delivery service is going to be allowed.
Sure. Did Emmy or Aaron, someone feel comfortable commenting on the delivery component? You have a microphone there?
I'll just speak loudly. That
You know,
ordinance
you might want to, I think we need you to unfortunately speak loudly into that microphone.
Aaron, I don't think it's turned on. I think that's the issue that Rena was talking about. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. The ordinance that was passed was actually an ordinance that was crafted with input from the League of Municipalities, our insurer and others. So some of that language in there probably might be overly inclusive, but it was done purposely to ensure that at this point with us opting out, that we phrased everything in a manner that truly opted us out of anything we could. That's why you might see some language that maybe doesn't seem like it makes sense, but again, it was intended to just be a little bit over inclusive to ensure we had an ordinance that captured everything at this point in time.
Okay, that is not an answer to the question. The question is, are delivery services going to be allowed?
Delivery services, as the ordinance says, are permitted as they are, as the statute and the regulations currently permit them. Anything that we are permitted to prohibit will be prohibited, but for the most part, as the ordinance is drafted, it says that except for, the language you quoted, that is the language that is correct. Those delivery services are permitted. Does that answer your question?
No, not really. I think this is drafted so very poorly that it will not be clear to anyone who is operating a delivery service.
If there's some clarification that needs to be made in the future because of that, we can certainly do it, and we'll make sure we do.
I see. Okay. All right. So you are telling all the people who are listening right now that delivery service will be legal here in Cherry Hill.
Could you speak up again, Rena? I'm sorry, it was tough hearing you.
Yes. How about this? Can you hear that?
A little better, yep.
Delivery service, as there's certain, the statute makes clear, I believe, that delivery services are permitted. We cannot prohibit deliveries of cannabis within our town. They are permitted as the statute allows them.
Okay, thank you. The second point I wanted to bring up, I was glad to hear that Council President Fleischer, that you have agreed to a timeline. That's a good thing. I did have a suggestion for the timeline that Councilmember Roscoff put forward. She had a decision on how to use the money coming before public input. I think we need to have public input before there's a decision on how to use the money. I think we have heard here tonight people who think that the town has plenty of money. I hear different things, especially related to the schools and a $300 million bond proposal. So I think that should be adjusted. So again, there's public input first, and then agreeing again with Councilmember Roscoff that it should not be as we had a couple of meetings ago when we learned at the meeting that this was our time to give input into this, and most people didn't know. So the mayor has the ability to send out in her weekly letter that there will be a town hall that's free. That would need to happen, and there would have to be notice in various different public meetings well in advance of the town hall so that people had the option to do that. Next, I wanted to bring up the drug-free zone. This was drawn to my attention earlier today. And I hope that when there is finally some zoning decisions here, that the drug-free zone in our township ordinance is considered. I guess I did have one other point that I wanted to make, which is this idea that if we don't sell cannabis in Cherry Hill, that there won't be cannabis in Cherry Hill. People in Cherry Hill will be driving farther to get their cannabis, and they will be giving their money to other towns. It just won't be coming to Cherry Hill. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle, who's next?
Our next speaker is our only call-in listener, which is a phone number that ends in 788.
Okay, Bill, if we could ask you please to state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Jeff Potowitz, and I live in 110 Kilburn Drive on Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Thank you.
There's an article that I read in the Colorado Sun, and it was by Michael Booth, and on February 9th, 2021. Now, this is Colorado. They were one of the first states. And what the article says is that marijuana stores, this is in Colorado, so collect 2.9% in state sales tax, 15% as a dedicated marijuana retail sales tax, and 15% excise tax on wholesale sales or transfers of retail marijuana. Fees come from license and application charges. Cities often add local sales tax of more than 20%. I'm going to repeat that. Cities often add local sales taxes of more than 20%. We're supposed to go crazy over 1%. So on $1 million worth of sales, that's $10,000. This is Cherry Hill. All right? That doesn't buy much in Cherry Hill, $10,000. All right? Now, if it was 20%, that would be quite a bit more of $1 million. But you see, somehow people are focusing on this 1 to 2%, and I just see our community being cheated because we're not getting 20%. We're getting 1%. That's a little bit, that's kind of small. And I really, I don't know why 1% is made to seem like it's a lot. It's not. Am I in favor of it being sold in Cherry Hill? No. I don't want people to come from Pennsylvania, come and stop at Costco and get gas and buy their stuff and then get their marijuana conveniently near Costco or near Cherry Hill Mall. If they want to go to another community, fine. But for 1 or 2%, I know the state's going to be making money. It's convenient for the state because someone's going to get all the money from the taxes, but it's not our local community. We're being cheated. And by the way, someone brought up the $300 million for schools. Well, I'll be honest with you. We started being cheated in Cherry Hill 30 years ago when our aid was actually cut in half over an 8-year period. All right. And that's the reason why we have $300 million made 30 years, and I don't know numbers. Back when our aid started to be cut 30 years ago,
Sir,
all right,
sir,
this will be the first year.
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to try to keep it as much as on point on the cannabis issue as possible.
On the cannabis issue, really, the money that we'll be getting is negligible. And what I'm reading to you is how it's allocated in Colorado, which someone mentioned about the state of Colorado. I mean, they're getting a lot more money from it. Cherry Hill would get nothing. And again, someone drives over from Pennsylvania, all right, comes down 70, visits Cherry Hill Mall, visits the Costco, visits those stores, all right. I don't want it to be that convenient for them to get the marijuana there. And remember, $1 million brings you 10,000. That's not much. That's all I wanted to say. It's just why are we being so cheated? I don't know. That's not much money at all. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Michelle, who's next, if anyone?
Our next speaker is Lefty Grimes.
All right, if we could trouble you for your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Hold on. Can you hear me okay?
If you could speak up a little bit, that would be helpful.
Okay. This is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 here in New Jersey advocating for disabled rights, cannabis patients' rights, disabled vets. And I believe your ordinance says the health and welfare of the people in Cherry Hill, but what about the health and welfare of your disabled vets, the health and welfare of your people that are sick and dying? You need to put the last first. We need to help the sick and the dying, the people in wheelchairs. I mean, I ask every council to spend a day in a wheelchair, and nobody has taken me up on that. a lot of towns say, well, you can get your cannabis delivered. Well, no, we can't. We've been waiting for years for that, and we're still waiting because they can't make money off of this. So patients are still suffering and waiting. And you want to wait 6 months. Well, we have vets with guns in their mouths going to kill themselves. 22 vets a day are killing themselves. How long do you expect to wait? Do you expect them to wait? I mean, these people fought for your right to have that counsel. What are we doing for them? We give them horrible health care. All the stuff I hear from the vets is negative with the government, how they get treated horribly. My one vet friend lives down on the island. In the islands, they just banned it in his town, and he has to drive an hour. And he had PTSD and all kinds of issues before this, and now he has cancer on top of all this. He was just diagnosed with this year. What are we doing for our vets? When you disrupt the supply chain of medicine to the troops, that's a wartime move. And I ask councils, who are you at war with? I mean, these are people that fought for your right. And we need to do better for them. This is God's medicine. God put this medicine here, and we're stigmatizing God's medicine. 68% of Jesus' miracles were for the disabled. 68%. In Ezekiel 12, all sorts of trees for food will grow on both banks of the stream. Their leaves will not wither, nor will their fruitage fail. Each month they will bear new fruit because the water for them flows from the sanctuary. Their fruitage will serve as food for them, and their leaves for healing. Leaves for healing. It's throughout the Bible. Anointing oil. Look up cannabosum. Anointing oil was cannabis. This is what we're fighting for. We fight for the rights of people that are sick and dying. That's what we're here for. We want mom and pop cannabis. We don't want these big corporations coming in here building an industry off the backs of the sick and the dying and the suffering. I ask you to put the last first, because we're getting hit from all sides. We're getting taxed by the state, taxed by the towns, and these towns that are taxing us, well, you think they give us wheelchair access? No. We want representation for that taxation. We don't even get wheelchair access in these towns that are taxing us. That's what we want. We want some compassion. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I didn't know if you wanted to wrap it up.
Yeah, I say one more thing. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning we will remember them. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle, who's next?
Our next speaker is Alana Yaris.
Great. Hi, Alana, if we could ask you for your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I got you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Alana Yaris, 6 Gately Court, Cherry Hill. I just wanted to say that I am against this ordinance. However, I am in agreement about not signing an unread contract. However, I believe that you as council members should have pushed for rules and regulations to come out before the deadline of August 20. For the deadline.
Medical cannabis delivery. You could also receive a regular cannabis delivery. There's nothing in this ordinance that's going to prevent any resident from Mendham Township from getting any delivery of illegal cannabis.
You're protected under state.
So, okay, so yeah, the state is allowing delivery, but you will not allow a medical retail dispensary, nothing for medical patients within your township. You're banning it. I'm sitting here reading it with my own eyes in the ordinance that you wrote and you gave people on your government page that I took from there. And I'm reading it with my own eyes. And then you sat there saying that we're crying boo-hoo and like you're not banning medical. You absolutely are. And you're trying to slide it in and it's disgusting.
Are you familiar with Mendham Township at all?
So let's let the person continue and then we can get into it.
Then that could be your zoning. You don't need to ban medical. You're stigmatizing people's life-saving medication.
Yeah, let's let Jamie, let me allow you 2 additional minutes because we interrupted you. I apologize. I allowed a back and forth.
What is it? We sat here and came for the medical, the sick, the dying, the chronically ill, the terminally ill, the suffering, the dying people in your community. And you sat there and said, you're not banning medical. I'm sitting here reading it with my own eyes. This prohibition shall be read and construed to apply equally to any and all medical cannabis organizations. Stop lying to your community.
Anything else?
I would like, you're banning medical as well and just sliding it in there with it and then sitting here verbally saying, no, you're not doing that. I'm sitting here reading it with our own eyes, looking at it.
So I just want to make something clear, and I'm sorry, Jamie, this is because I allowed there to be a back and forth because I feel like there was a clarification question and I didn't mean for us to be debating you. So I put that on myself, but we usually don't allow back and forth like this. There's been times that I feel like it's appropriate for clarification, but I'm just going to disallow the back and forth right now. So we'll try to address any additional comments or questions that you have during our debate period.
I want to know what the truth is. Are you including medical in this ordinance banning cannabis or not? Because what's coming out of his mouth is no. And what I'm reading with my own eyes says yes. Why are you stigmatizing sick, chronically ill, suffering and dying people? And then I'm done. If we could get one honest answer to, is this included in the ban or not? What's right with the ordinance I'm reading with my eyes or what's coming out of his mouth?
We're not allowing back and forth.
You can say these things in a lot less offensive manner.
Okay, you have 5 more minutes. It's not 5 more minutes, 5 more seconds.
If we could get an answer to that one question, I'd be good. Medical is included in the ban with your ordinance or it is not.
Okay, we're going on to the next speaker. I will address any comments as we close the public. Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak and open to the public? Nicolette? Hi, Nicolette. You just say your name, your full name and your address for the record.
Sure. Hi, everyone. This is Reverend Nicolette Saragusa. I am at 5 Ward Drive in Brookside of Mendham Township. So I am, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I was actually really surprised to see this ordinance come up because of the aforementioned statement that we don't have a business district. I'm not entirely sure why we are spending time passing an ordinance that with such a wide scope when we don't actually have most of the business classes that are listed in this ordinance. If I am correct in what I've read and what I've heard tonight, the only business class that is included is our growers. And my experience with family farmers is that this is a really struggling business and that we are blessed with several dedicated farms in our area, people who care about the environment and care about green space. And it just seems prudent that we, rather than pass an ordinance, again, that is far beyond what we actually need in our town, to speak with our farmers and allow them to figure out what they need to do as family farms to decide to work. This is not a new business anymore. If we were talking about this 10 years ago, I can see the reaction of, oh, we need to do something to make sure this doesn't happen in our town. But there are plenty of examples of thriving communities. And knowing that we have a voter base that has supported the legalization of cannabis, I encourage you to move past this ordinance, to not add this clutter to our town. I think it reflects poorly on us, as we've heard this evening, and it doesn't reflect who we actually are as a town. Thank you.
Thank you. there anyone else who'd like to speak in the public? Edward? Edward, can you please state your name and your address for the record?
Yes, this is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org, a 501c3 here in New Jersey, advocating for disabled rights, cannabis patients' rights, and disabled vets. And I'm looking at this ordinance right here, and it says, this prohibition shall be read and construed to apply equally to any and all medical cannabis organizations holding a license or applicants for such a license issued under the J. Coney Compassionate Use, et cetera, et cetera. It's right here in front of my eyes. So, I mean, if it's, am I reading the wrong thing? Did you update it since then? I don't think so. I think that you've been called out because you guys are flapping your gums about how much you support the vets, and you really don't support the vets. You really don't. You're hurting them. And let me tell you something else. 68% of Jesus' miracles were for the disabled. 68% of Jesus' miracles were for the disabled. What are you doing for the disabled except taking their medicine away? What are you doing? Let me tell you another thing. Genesis chapter 1. Then God said, "Here I have given you every seed-bearing plant that is on the entire earth, and every tree with seed-bearing fruit. Let them serve as food for you." It's throughout the Bible. The Bible is full of compassion. It's full of social justice. And I'm a very flawed person, but I am doing what I believe what God wants me to do and fight for the sick and the dying and the disabled. The Bible is full of flawed people doing God's work. I might be one of them. And I'm calling you out on this because you're wrong. And you know you're wrong. And you're hurting the vets. You're hurting sick and dying people. People with cancer. People that are dying. That can't afford to wait for you to make a decision. Have you ever seen somebody with cancer? Have you ever seen someone in a wheelchair? I fight for wheelchair access all over New Jersey. I ask you to spend a day in a wheelchair. And then imagine yourself with no legs or with cancer or with some horrible ailment, and you had to get medical cannabis. Where are you going to go? How are you going to get a ride? You're going to pay for an Uber ride? Well, first of all, maybe you don't have that problem, but a lot of us are on disability. We're working class people. We're broke. We're broken. And we need help. We're getting taxed. Our medicine's not covered by insurance, and towns are banning it. And my vet friends are complaining to me. So I'm complaining to you. This is what we need. We need our medical cannabis. You want to ban recreational? Fine. But take care of the vets, take care of the sick and the dying people. And stop lying to me. Because I'm looking at your ordinance right here, and you're lying to me. Anyone can look it up. It's on your agenda. It's on the bottom of your agenda. Look at it yourself. You tell me if I'm nuts or not. Maybe I'm nuts. Maybe I'm wrong. You tell me. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Thank you.
I have 321.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah. Is there anyone else who would like to speak and open to the public? Is there a motion? What was that? I'm sorry?
No one else has.
Is there a motion to open? Is there a motion to close the public? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so while we were, since we're close to the public hearing, while we were discussing this, our attorney just kind of redlined something for me. I just want to be clear. So this ordinance was taken from other towns.
Yeah, and shame on me for not looking at it.
Oh, it's a cut and paste.
It came from Bob Casey's pen, and Bob is pretty thorough and efficient, but it does appear to me that there appears to be a conflict because the prefatory language says that the ordinance shall not, the word cannabis shall not include medical marijuana as defined in that J. Coney whatever, but then when you get to the operative language that bans marijuana, the ordinance itself purports to recite that it shall specifically include, meaning to ban medical marijuana. So there's some sort of
I take it that it's banning the formation of a business.
Yeah, that's what it,
That's
that's
banning.
what.
It's the formation of a business. It does not ban medical marijuana. It's the formation of.
Yeah, we can't ban it. We can't ban someone getting a delivery and
Yeah, it's even under
using
the
it
title.
under the.
formation.
I mean, we're
I accept
hearing,
that.
we're hearing comments from people who obviously don't know that we have no business district in Mendel Township, except for the little farming processing, right? You know, we're hearing from people who think that something is gonna change as soon as we pass this, but the fact of the matter is that nothing is gonna change. There's no place to put a business here in the first place, and it's still not gonna be any place to put a business here. And anybody that was getting medical marijuana yesterday is gonna be able to get it tomorrow. In the same way that they got it yesterday, they'll be able to get it tomorrow. There's absolutely no change, except unless you wanna come in here and start a medical dispensary or a regular cannabis dispensary, or you wanna grow it, or you wanna start a warehouse operation. That
Or
will
a
not be
taxi
allowed.
company or a bus company or any other type of dispatching event. We don't have a business like that. And this is under that same codification.
And
Mhm.
sorry, so I believe that this language specifically came from the similar one of Mendham Boroughs. And I think also the lawyer for Chatham Township
Right.
is also similar.
As I said, I just read it quickly tonight. I hadn't studied on it. At first blush, it did appear that there was some conflicting language. But if the second paragraph that deals with the banning of substance really refers, strike that, does not refer to banning the use, but bans the operation of a business catering to that use,
Right,
then we're good.
right. And I think all of these ordinances were based upon League of Municipality sample ordinances. I think that's where the
But
language
that
came
doesn't
from.
make that
Yeah.
right either.
Yeah,
So-
no, but I'm just saying that's where, most of the municipalities drew the language. And just to add to that, to clarify, because I think some folks are calling in who aren't familiar with why we're passing this tonight, which is that there's a deadline coming up, and if the town, any town in New Jersey doesn't opt out, then a business can approach the town and try to seek a license. So to me, this is sort of like a stopgap measure, because we're up against I think it's an August 21st deadline.
Correct.
And again,
None of you intended this to be a permanent
right,
solution.
Right.
It was just to hold our breath. Let's see if the state comes up with any further guidance, and we'll revisit.
exactly. So, but to the point that was made, we don't have a business district. We have one store, we have one restaurant. In terms of farming, I did go around and checked out a couple of dispensaries. I saw a cultivation facility up in Boonton, and what I'm learning is that they really prefer, folks who are in the business, they prefer to grow it indoors, and what they're really looking for are big commercial, like an old Walmart or an old Sears or an old JCPenney's, and that they use that sort of indoor facility to grow it, because it's such a delicate plant, and there's a lot of fears around mold and contamination issues. So I got a real education about it, but there are some beautiful facilities. If you want to go over to Maplewood, Terrace End, I walked into I took a tour of the dispensary, and it's like walking into Tiffany's. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous facility. That's not that far from here. And so again, empathetic toward anyone who requires medical marijuana, or someone wants to use it recreationally, that's their prerogative. But it is available. It will be more widely available, no doubt. I'm sure other communities are going to open up dispensaries and stores, but that's just not really, we don't have that in our town.
And we have the right to revisit this thing. quite
And we can
frankly.
revisit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the real key, is that the rules from the state are
Follow
not
the
due.
lead of the city of Bayonne. The city of Bayonne passed an ordinance almost 3.5 months ago, which lays out application fees, renewal fees, how many licenses they want and which ones they don't. And they also have a merit-based application system. I sent this ordinance to everybody on council. It lays out a merit system, which looks at labor. If they fought workers' rights in Illinois, they're going to fight workers' rights here in New Jersey, right? If they polluted in Colorado, they're going to pollute here in Cherry Hill. So we got to make sure that when we do accept these big-time employers from Colorado and Canada and California, that there's standards, and the city of Bayonne has done that. As far as there has been other comments made for the children, as a labor representative, we represent many other industries as well. ShopRite, Acme, but we also represent Jim Beam. We represent Bacardi. We represent all the pharmacy techs. So when you walk into those facilities, or you see a driver dropping off those products to a bar, no one ever says, "Oh, save the children," because we know that those workers are professionals. They're paid a living wage and they have health care. Who would risk that? Who would risk that? And these workers in cannabis are the same way. They get a living wage. They get a union wage. They get health care, sick time, vacation, dental, retirement. These are careers. And these workers have degrees in horticulture, botany, chemistry, even pharmacists work in the retail sections of our New Jersey representative facilities. So, you know, I find it disrespectful as a labor representative when I hear people think so low of workers who work in these industries. And I would hope that the committee and the mayor would please denounce those types of comments. And I would also like to suggest, this is my last comment, that you come to a tour of the Garden State Dispensary in Woodbridge. It's the first of the original 6 that unionized under the Chris Christie administration. They've been around since 2013. It's a seed to sale operation, so you can see the whole operation. So you don't have to hear about Aunt Millie in Colorado anymore. You could see it for yourself. You can see the professionalism. I can set that up for you. You can bring the chief of police as well, township attorney, whoever you feel is important to see this, please bring them. I think it's a great opportunity. I've taken other mayors and councils through, and I would offer the same tour, and it shows leadership. So once again, on behalf of the UFCW, on behalf of the AFL-CIO, on behalf of the New Jersey Building Trades, we oppose an opt-out ordinance because it attacks working class people and it attacks union jobs. Thank you.
Thank you for your prior email and thanks for coming out tonight.
Our next speaker is Rick Short.
Rick, you
Hello,
there?
Council President. Can you hear me?
Yep, we've got you, Rick. Just name and address for the record. You know the drill.
Sure. Rick Short, 1002 Chelton Parkway. There has been talk about reefer madness tonight. I'm not going to claim that. There has been talk about, save the children. But what I want to talk about, there's 2 points. And this does have to do with children. And I ask any of the council members or mayor, if you've been down to Ocean City. If you've been down to Ocean City, you'll see the new policies of enforcement of drug laws and drugs and alcohol are just, I don't know what to call it. They're just lax. It's like party city. And that's a state thing. So I'd like to see the township and the mayor and the police kind of plan around and write ordinances that would put these things under control and make sure that it would never happen in Cherry Hill. I mean, we don't want to start offering sales and then find that our police can't enforce it in a parking lot at Cherry Hill East or Cherry Hill West. I mean, that's just insane. And that's what's happening down in Ocean City. It's just party time all around. And I was speaking to one of the sergeants, and I saw the frustration in her voice, and she was very upset that she could not put any control with children at the Ocean City. And sadly, what's going to happen is, or I hope that doesn't happen, is somebody's going to some pedestrian's going to get killed, and then they'll tighten it up. So I hope we fix that. And the last thing is, I'm going to go with Dr. Podowitz and Ms. Yair's comments and about the schools. I mean, why is it only 2%? Why aren't we getting higher? Why can't we do that? And I hope we could get higher. I hope we could get 8% or 10%, and that money go to the schools if it gets approved and moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Michelle, who's next?
Our next speaker is Danielle Tamburino.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, Danielle. If we could have your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Danielle Tamburino. I live at 230 Hadley Drive. My husband Mark spoke earlier.
If we could ask you to speak up a little bit, a little tough to hear you.
Danielle Tamburino, 230 Hadley Drive.
Thank you.
So I just want to start this off where my husband, when he left to go to this meeting and I was trying to explain it to my soon-to-be 13-year-old, his first response was, marijuana, isn't that the same thing as crack? So yes, this does affect our children. He's going into 8th grade, but missed all of 7th and half of 6th. So he's going pretty much from elementary to experience 8th and then go to high school. So for him to respond that quick to marijuana, isn't that the same thing as crack? This is what we've instilled in our kids' heads in schools. So as a mom who's also a trauma nurse and also had a graduate from East, now a Beck student and an elementary student, all in Cherry Hill, I just see this going downhill. My son, who's about to graduate college, got caught smoking a joint for the first time ever in the locker of the football locker at Cherry Hill East freshman year. So it started there. It's in our schools already. Vaping's in our schools. We all know this. It's common knowledge. If these kids can get liquor when they're not of age to get liquor, they'll be able to get weed when they're not of age. It's the same thing. They can either buy it in the street or they're going to buy it from somebody who has a license to go in the store and hand it to them in the parking lot. Back to being a trauma nurse. To those of you who say that driving under the influence of alcohol versus weed is different, no, it's not. No, it's not. To all the parents out there, the kids whose parents I had to tell were gone because they were stoned and crashed into the pool is just as high as the kids that were drunk and crashed into the pool. We don't need it here. There's no need for it here. As a nurse, as a mother, it terrifies me. Go a town over. I have anxiety. I have chronic pain. I have immunosuppression from immunodeficiency. I don't smoke weed. I don't. I never did. I never will. I probably could. Might make me feel a little better, as from what all these people are saying, but I don't, because I don't want my kids to see it. I don't want them to smell it. That's it. That's all I got to say.
Thank you very much.
We have one more speaker with a hand raised, and that's Deborah. Did you want to speak again, Deborah?
Apologies, that was left up from earlier.
No problem. Is there anyone else who wishes to make a comment?
Yes, we have one more hand raised. That's Laura Einhorn.
Annie, you there?
Yes, I am. There's a lot of interference tonight. Sorry, Mr. Fletcher.
No problem. We just have your name and address to the record. You know the
Sure. Ann Einhorn, 1017 Edgemore Road.
Thank you.
So, given my age, I was part of the Reefer Madness going back to 1969, 73. Never touched the stuff myself because my parents would have killed me. I'm sure they would have caught me. So, most of you know my feelings about this. I am going to just go back to the caucus meeting where there was a timeline laid out. I would suggest that you do that town hall meeting, as evidenced by tonight, before next, I think it was January, February. I would really like to hear, as a community member, both sides of the coin. I've heard some tonight. The other thing is, I agree with Ms. Margolis, is that I really didn't realize, once again, by looking at the agenda, that this would be an item that the community at large or those outside the community at large could speak at. So if we could find a better way of letting us know, perhaps again, as was suggested, using the mayor's weekly email blast, etc., I would certainly appreciate it, because even though I hang around a lot for these meetings, there are times when I'm also not available. I will say this: I have been to Colorado. I have seen how it is used. I have innumerable patients myself who benefit by marijuana. They have to travel to North Jersey to get it. From a medical point of view, for some members of our community and the community at large, to have it close to home would be of great benefit to them. I do not have a concern for the kids. I don't even have a concern for zoning as it comes forward. I do know that Voorhees has a very explicit resolution that they signed off on as to where it could be sold. We have industrial parks. We don't have to be near the schools. There are ways that, my goodness, most of you just know X amount of feet from any religious establishment, school, etc. I'm going to trust you all to figure this one out. because there are ways to do things. I personally do not have a problem with selling legal marijuana in our township because unfortunately, we also sell legal liquor in this township day in and day out. And to me, that's just as dangerous if you've ever had an alcoholic in the family as someone spazzing out on marijuana. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ann. Michelle, is there anyone else?
Danielle Tamburino's hand is raised again. Would you like to speak again, Danielle?
I'm so sorry. I forgot completely to mention something until she spoke and then it reminded me. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. So if you
Okay.
have your name and address again for the record.
Yeah, Danielle Tamburino, 230 Hadley Drive. Just real quick, I would love, I love the whole 6-month plan and the timeline, but as a community, I don't know if you guys are aware, there's like social media apps that are for and against, and people are bullying other people and attacking other people. And it's quite ridiculous, to be honest. So I would ask if there's any way possible for this to just be done sooner so that that all stops. Because as a community, it's not in our favor. I mean, people are literally, it's not political. It's not, I mean, some of it might be, but who knows? It's just unnecessary for us as a community to build going forward, regardless of what the final decision is. If it could be done sooner, 6 more months of reading, bashing of people, whether for or against, I just would hope it would end for us. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for ending on a note of reminding about civility. Before we go to, I'll close the public hearing. Michelle, anyone else?
No, we have no
Yes,
more
I'll
hands
close-
raised.
I'm going to close the public hearing. And as you can hear, and to no surprise, there are very passionate feelings on this topic that folks have developed based on their own experiences, their own lives, their own religious beliefs, their training, their exposure to and belief of the medical system, how they raise their children. There's lots of those different topics, and we respect everyone's opinion. I do want to bring us back to the rationale behind us passing this tonight, which is a very logistical one. And it's very important regarding how the township is run to protect our residents. For anyone who's been around a while, we know that the state has long lists of rules and regulations. It would not be my first time to the rodeo for the state to come down with rules and regulations that are either challenged in court, are difficult to administer on the local level, or ambiguous and difficult to process at the municipal level and ultimately implement. And I would believe that it would be professional malpractice, in my opinion, to approve, to not take the opt-out, knowing that we can opt back in at any time before getting the regulations. And we respect everyone's opinion. I heard just some folks say, don't make your decision based on this factor that we heard someone speak to or the others. You know, we're not passing judgment on anyone's personal beliefs on this topic at this point. Clearly, each of us up here as individuals have our own belief systems for that as well. But we're doing to make sure, again, knowing that once you opt in, without knowing what's behind the curtain regarding the regulations, would just not be prudent, whether it's cannabis or any other important topic that's relevant to our community. So I'm very comfortable with the collaborative process with my colleagues in the mayor's office, having a plan in place. Let's get the regulations. Let's dissect these different issues one at a time. We had numerous people speak tonight. We had people speak at prior meeting. I am very comfortable that this is getting a proper airing. We'll decide if we're going to have a town hall or not, but we'll certainly, certainly be, any action, future action that we take is all public as well. So we will make sure that the public has, has adequate opportunity, as it did tonight, to express its opinions for and against. And we appreciate and respect everyone who shared those tonight. So at this point, I will entertain a motion to move in. Excuse me, sir, did you have a quick point of order? We're getting ready to vote.
I just have a question. Is this meeting just about marijuana, or could you bring up another topic up?
Yes, sir, thank you. So we're voting on this, so we're gonna have the rest of the agenda, and then at the conclusion of the agenda is another area for public comment.